Hello, everybody, and welcome back to NCAA 2004, and it is more off-season time, baby. It's that time once again, as the seasons get shorter, as we're just so good. We just lose so rarely, and we just watch less and less games. But Notre Dame, speaking of winning games, Notre Dame has won the national championship. So if you were wondering if the Independent could do it, they did. They won the national championship against Colorado State. That is Colorado State's second trip back to the dance since year 6. Was the last time they were there, and they would lose it to Maryland. So Colorado State cannot get over the hump, but they are still a good team, and Notre Dame finally got over the hump. So, but with that, we're going to look through some stats here. And winning the best quarterback this year is Stanford Matthews, but this is the first quarterback we've had throw for less than 4,000 yards in a season since our unnamed quarterback that we had to start the series. That's something to point out here. Stanford Matthews is the first quarterback to have less than 4,000 passing yards since we've started recruiting our own quarterbacks and starting them. So that's, kind of a sign of the time, maybe. I don't know. Probably not. But either way, Jameel Nichols had a great season running the football. Andrew Solomon, 16 touchdowns, dude. Like, what are we doing here? Stephen Barker also had a nice little increased year, though. The down on the touchdowns, which I think is interesting. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Broderick Black ended up being the third top receiver on the depth chart here, but Hines had a pretty decent season as well. So not too much to really worry about here. But Zach Campbell, man, junior year was incredible. We might be seeing him leave after that kind of season, man. But more struggles around the line here. Dominic Cochran, a decent year. Kerry Higgins, not a bad year. Same with Damian Kirkland. Things are all right here, but, really the only one is at the top here. Zach Campbell really the only one with a great year. So Jason Nash leading the team in tackles, but Gavin Vann, our junior defensive end, is going to tie with Pat Burks for TFL leader at 13, but Nash is going to be there at 12, so not too bad. Van also leading in sacks by a considerable margin here with 7. And then Joshua Bowen and Tyler Kennedy both tying for 4 interceptions. And I remember last year Tyler Kennedy had 7 of those things, and he only walked with 4 this year. Can't expect 7 every year. It'd be great, though. And then Dave Dennis has a decent year kicking. 80%'s all right. We'd probably like that to be a little bit higher, but, we can survive. So looking over the SEC standings overall, Arkansas still listed at the top because I'm guessing South Carolina lost their bowl game, but South Carolina is the SEC champs, so I don't know why the standings do that, but they do. We finished 12-1, which, by the way, this is our first season not finishing with 13 or more wins since year number 4. So, yeah, that's an interesting stat here, but it's true. So here's a look at the SEC East, which is just completely abysmal this year. So was the West. I mean, really, outside of us, Arkansas, and South Carolina, really nobody in the SEC was really worth anything, which is just a weird state of times. Believe me. So Notre Dame is at the top of the rankings with Texas and Ohio State behind us at 4. We move up to 4, and then West Virginia rounds things out at 5. Colorado State drops to 6. USC at 7. TCU up to 8. Virginia Tech up to 9. Arkansas drops to 10. They lose their bowl game. Fresno State moves up to 11. Oregon State up to 12. Penn State drops to 13. South Carolina drops to 14. Miami drops to 15. Oklahoma up to 16. The Air Force up to 17. You got Washington up to 18. Maryland up to 19, and Southern Miss dropping all the way to 20, good lord. And then you have Michigan, New Mexico State rounding out the top 25 here, coming in at the very end. So interesting top 25 to end the season, to be sure. And sure enough, yeah, Zach Campbell's trying to get out of here, man. He's trying to leave. And Tyler Kennedy also trying to leave, too. That's also not super shocking here. Stanford Matthews is graduating. J.J. Wright is also graduating. Andrew Solomon is graduating. Brutal, man. Also losing Jones, our starting center. That's kind of bad. We're losing some prospects on the D-line. But Pat Burks, the biggest part of our defense, or at least one of them, is also graduating. So that's kind of an unfortunate series of events here. But, yeah, we're losing a lot of key pieces here. It's not a huge leaving class because we're now starting to get a little bit younger on the roster, but the last big kind of class of seniors is kind of getting on out of here, so it's a lot of people that we have to try and replace, and I did my absolute darndest to do that. That was the strategy with recruiting this year. I wanted to get back to a top class. I wanted to just recruit as many 5-stars as possible, but I also wanted to recruit the big areas of need that we have. So I got a new center. I got a new middle linebacker here. Got a couple of new offensive line prospects. The top tackle in the country. I got another quarterback, or a couple quarterbacks, actually. I just wanted some options there. We ended up getting a few running backs, some 4-star running backs, so just kind of wanted the depth there because I think Jameel Nichols we're still going to have for his senior season, so there's not a huge threat at running back, even though we did lose J.J. Wright. But we will we'll get a look at some of the guys that I did miss out on that I was really definitely trying to go for. So we have the top defensive end in the country is a left end. He went to Ohio State. The top receiver ended up going to Marshall. The number 2 tackle went to West Virginia. The number 4 receiver went to Texas. I was in on. The number 4 quarterback ended up going to Clemson. The number 3 tackle went to Texas. So Texas is going to have a completely rebuilt offensive line. The number 2 running back goes to Virginia Tech. We lose another running back to Oklahoma and to Penn State. The number 3 center goes to Notre Dame. So it is definitely a lot of top guys I was after, and they ended up flipping and losing some. But Texas takes the number 1 spot from us in recruiting. So it's the second straight year, I think, or second or third straight year where we don't have the top recruiting class, but we're at least back up to 2, and we have the most out of the teams around us here. So, and we're matching the same number of 5 stars as Notre Dame, the defending champs, and Texas, who we'll probably definitely see again. So I'm not super worried about it. But looking through the rest of the top 25, I think I keep forgetting to do this, is show the top 25 in recruiting. But a lot of familiar faces, some new ones in here. Miami of Ohio, interesting. That's definitely interesting. Arkansas down here at 17, so they're not losing much of a step either. New Mexico State trying to put together a squad, looks like. Louisville and Washington State in here, that's kind of interesting. Texas A&M, we haven't heard from them in a long time. But then Marshall rounds out the top 25 in recruiting. So what is the outlook moving forward? Well, as you can see from training, we still have a lot of mid to high 90s guys. So this team is definitely not losing any kind of step. And just looking through all the high 90s, I'm very, very optimistic about where this team will be heading into next year. Because there's a lot of juniors that we ended up keeping. Like a lot that we ended up keeping. So our whole receiving core, we're keeping most of it. I think the only real receiver we lost was Andrew Solomon, which was just because of graduation. So we have a lot of great receivers still on the roster here. We have Robbie Tanner, our fullback. He's still back here. We have Gavin Van, who is one of our top contributors on defense. He's also back too, and he's up pretty high defensively as well. LaShawn Robinson, who's been our backup quarterback for a little bit, he's up to a 96 now. He didn't develop quite a lot, but he's up to a 96. So we're going to have a lot of top guys on this team, man. A lot of top guys. And we're just going to see now as we go through the depth chart. So LaShawn Robinson is going to be your starting quarterback with Dre Gates, a freshman, behind him. So when we continue past this season, this next season, year number 11, we're going to have some new quarterbacks, man. We might have a repeat starter for a couple seasons after this year. So Nichols is still our starting running back at 95. Robbie Tanner's up to an 89 as our fullback. We might see a little bit more from him this year, which would be nice to see. But Clintock stuck behind him. Stephen Barker's up to a 90. Darius Van's an 87. Ryan Reynolds, man, Deadpool himself, is going to be third on the depth chart. David Hines up to an 85. So we don't have a lot of top over 90 guys in receiving core, but they're all consistently in the mid 80s and high 80s. So I'm cool with that. Broderick Brack and Horner, the backup tight ends, are both at 88. So maybe a decision there. Who knows? We're definitely going to make some changes on the offensive line to get the best possible option here, since we don't really have a left tackle. So Higgins is going to start on the left side here. Delvin Gill is going to be our guard. Dominique Cochran is going to be our center. Kirkland's going to be the right guard. And then Juan Walden. I was trying to look around here. We have kind of a big dip at tackle. So tackle is a big area of need. We were able to fix left tackle, but it doesn't look like we'll be able to fix right tackle nearly as much. So we're probably going to have to end up going with Juan Walden here. But we're going to make a little bit of a move, maybe add someone else. Yeah, so Marion Bradley we're going to put instead, because, hey, 4 overall points, it definitely means something. So Gavin Van's going to be a starter here on the defensive line. We have Hobbs as our defensive tackle with Garcia behind him. So great defensive line. It's good. Justin Ulrich is going to be on the left side. Jason Nash going to be our starting middle linebacker. And then Joel Davis on the right side. All at 99 overalls. It's crazy. Joshua Bowen's back, and Fabian Schmidt is also back. Kevin Wagner is going to be third. I mean, our DBs are also sick. I mean, this got to be one of the best rosters in college football, man. I mean, come on. Neil Goodwin's back, and he's up to a 97. And then Steven Latimer's back for his senior year, and he's up to a 99. Man, Dave Dennis is up to an 80, so we'll take that. And then Leroy Hastings, I think, was a walk-on punter. No, I recruited a punter. I did. I for sure did. But either way, that is the roster, and it is absolutely scary to look at. So here is the schedule as it sits. We are going to make a little bit of a change at it, or at least I thought. We are going to make a little bit of a change at it. So this is originally how it was looking here. And they wanted to give us Kansas State, Oklahoma State, UConn, and Louisiana Lafayette. But I would go ahead and change the schedule. We're going to put Texas on it instead, and that's the only change we're going to make. So we're keeping the Big 12 in here. We have a couple pup games at the end of the year with UConn and Louisiana Lafayette. We will take it. And then we also have Oklahoma State. So 2 ranked opponents out of conference. The SEC's gotten so much worse. The only team that's ranked on our schedule, on the conference schedule, heading into this is Arkansas. So that's how bad things have gotten in the SEC, man. But we're starting off 4th. Texas is 3rd. So we're going to have to beat Texas to get through them, man. They have a 14-game win streak. We have an 8-game win streak. We're going to clash, man. So hope to see you guys back in Austin when we play Texas again.